Good afternoon, everybody. How you doing? This is your Coach Renz, and today I'm gonna give you guys a little preview, a peek into a book that I'm writing. It's a relationship-based book, and so far right now, the working title is "I'm Sorry I'm Late," with a subtitle of "How to Say I Do to Yourself Before Someone Else." Now, the concept of this book is going to be able to help you first get yourself in the right mindset and in the right activity lifestyle that will enable you to become the best version of yourself. And then by becoming that version of yourself and eliminating certain blocks in your life and being able to create basically the alchemical marriage within yourself, allow you to then be able to better identify different people as you meet them to determine whether or not these will be good people to have relationship with, and of course that one person that you have a committed relationship with romantically. But you will also be able to use this to figure out friendship relationships as well as family relationships and as well as business relationships. So just go along with me on this little journey right now as I go through some of the basic ideas that will be in the book. Of course, there'll be a ton more details, a lot of stories, and a lot of examples of exactly how to implement and how to work through these things, different practices and processes that will allow you to be able to unleash the total portion of yourself onto the world, okay? So the first aspect of it is, but we're going to focus really on finding a relationship with other people. And the first thing is finding that divine soulmate, or that divine mate that you have for you, that twin flame, however you want to describe it. But before we do that, you first have to be able to say I do to yourself. You have to love you first. You have to come into a point of knowing that this is me and I love me. I love me to the extent of being true to what Shakespeare wrote in "To Thine Own Self Be True." To be true to what the Greek philosophers wrote of "To Know Thyself," which is also something that comes from the Kemetic and the Hermetic and the Sumerians and the Tao and everything else. So all great wisdom throughout time and history have always known to know thyself is the trueness to be able to find happiness and joy in your life and to become the greatest version of yourself so that you can interact in this world in such a way that you then become a master of your life. And that's the goal, to become a master of your life. So we're going to become the complete you by knowing who you are, right? And when you become who you desire to be, it will then allow you to match up with the right people in your life. So let's look at some of the blocks, the things that block your self-awareness, because in order for you to become the better version of yourself, you have to first become aware of who you are right now, what has made you that way, and then how to overcome those blocks will allow you to be able to become that person that attracts greatness in their life, okay? So you can use this for any aspect, and you should be doing this just purely by yourself, basically. Now, this is a combination of Hermeticism, alchemy, Tantra, and chakras and the chakra system. So you're going to see elements of it all, not in deep detail in this video, but as I write this book, it will go into greater detail and implementing all these things, and it will implement everything seamlessly. Like, I won't say this is alchemy, this is chakras, this is tantra, I may say that in certain parts, but there's a flow to it all because they're all connected. So just to go through some of this, really quick here, because I don't want to take up too much of your time, we're going to look at the things that block you from being able to be the greatest version of yourself so that you can develop and attract the right relationships in your life. And what a lot of people make a mistake of, they want to work their chakra system from the top down. They want to work alchemy from gold. They don't just snap into gold, not realizing that they have to start from lead and work their way up. They want to immediately jump to the top portions of the tree of life, which is, jump right into the Dyath and Binah and Chakma. No, but you can't jump into the crown like that. You got to go into the knowledge to get the understanding and so that you can have wisdom. You first got to take care of your Shud and Malkuth and all these other lower aspects. So we have to start with the lower aspects first because they work with us on the physical plane. And on that physical plane, the first one is our base. And our base is blocked by fear. The fear of different aspects of life, but most importantly, the fear of that foundation that you have in your life, the fear of of losing what it is that keeps you alive. To give you a base example, if you live in a house and you're financially strapped and you're spending more than you earn, you're living in a place that costs you more than you can afford, and you're always constantly in fear of having lights, you're always constantly in fear of being evicted, you have that fear is blocking you at a foundational level that keeps you from being able to go out and manifest everything else in your life, because that fear creates so much stress that it doesn't allow you to grow. Right? So we have to eliminate that fear. We have to get to not just what our greatest fears are, and our greatest fears that are based on things that happened in our past, but how those things in our past have led us to our state now, which causes us even more fear that we live in every day, that stress and that anxiety. So what is the greatest fear? What are your greater fears, and what are all the things that you fear happening to you on a daily basis, or possibly could happen in the future? Because we know that fear is, people like to say, false evidence appearing real, or forget everything and run, or face everything and respond. But fear really is an inaccurate thought process on everything around you, or putting yourself in a situation that gives you elements of losing things in your life. So we have to break fear down into greater detail than just the basic conscious aspect of, oh, just don't live in fear. No, we have items and things in our lives that are creating justified fear. So we have to be able to recognize those things as well, to remove them from our lives. Like I said, if you're spending more money than you earn, then we have to adjust our financial picture so that we're not constantly living in fear of eviction or starvation. Well, not starvation, but fear of eviction, not having food, not having lights, not having water, losing your cars, losing. We have to get rid of that fear of losing by adjusting our financial situation. We have to adjust our fear of being hurt by someone by by removing ourselves from bad relationships, whether they're friend, family, or romantic. We have to remove that fear of losing our job by making ourselves more valuable to the company, or figuring out where's our purpose, where should we be working. So we have to work through that fear and figure out where that fear is coming from, and move ourselves into a position where we're no longer in fear. And if we have deep-seated things from our childhood, deep-seated things from how we've grown up, or things we've experienced, then we have to come into a reality of those things and recognize that we have to release everything that we're living in fear of. So that's just fear, and that's a basic. I didn't mean to go that long about fear. The next one is guilt. Next block that we have, and this is within our sacral chakra. The first one was in our foundational, our base chakra, and that is guilt. And guilt is really about recognizing the mistakes that we've made in life. Sorry, I keep hearing stuff. But recognizing the mistakes that we've made in life. We may feel guilty about things that we've done to ourselves, things that we've done to other people, and people have made us feel guilty. Sweet elixir of life here. People have made us feel guilty about the way we dress. People have made us feel guilty about how we treated someone. Many people walk around in guilt about the fact that they've had a divorce, or that they've lost a child, or had an abortion, or feeling guilt that they lost a job and they were evicted. And we walk around holding on to all this guilt about things that we've done in our past, not recognizing that we learned from each one of those things. Each one of those things has made us into who we are. But the only reason we're still holding on to guilt is because we haven't fully learned from all those experiences that we had and have released them. We have to forgive ourselves. The moment you begin to forgive yourself for every aspect, for everything that has not gone right in your life, for everything that you've done that didn't have the greatest results, the moment you start forgiving yourself is the moment you start to release the guilt out of your life. And releasing that guilt is very vital to your success in life. And if you're walking around guilty, then when you go into the next relationship, you're carrying that guilt with you. When you go to the next job, you're carrying that guilt with you. Things that you haven't forgiven yourself of. So when you're living in guilt, you can't be the best person. You can't give the best effort. You can't focus on the best things. You're looking for other things that are negative within each situation. And as long as you're looking for those negative situations, you will find them. So we have to forgive ourselves for all the things that we've experienced and done that didn't come out the right way. And we also have to forgive other people who may have done things to us that has also created that status, that situation of guilt. Now, and I get interrupted sometimes. And now this next chakra, this next point that is blocking you will sound very similar to guilt, but it's wholly different in that it is shame. Many times we feel shame because we've disappointed ourselves and disappointed those who we care about. See, guilt can come from the outside of people who have done things to us or things we've done to other people. Shame is more about the mistakes that we've made, but we knew we made those mistakes when we were better than that. We disappointed ourselves. My middle child, bless her heart, all I've ever had to do to her is tell her that, make her feel shame about what she's done, make her realize, and I don't do it where I leave her stuck in shame. I will shame the activity, but uplift the character of the person. Shame the thing that she did, but uplift her as a person, as her personality, her as a person, as a young lady. So that she recognized that it's the item, it's the object, it's this incident that is lower than who she is. Like, she committed something that, you are better than this. So for a split second, there is shame only for her to recognize that this is a learning point, that I am too good to allow myself to be around these kind of people. I am too good to have, smacked her brother upside the head for no apparent reason. Not that she's ever done that, I'm just used to saying that, but that's the idea, that she's too good for that. That was a mistake, but you're better than that. And I always end it with, you are my child, you are Simone, you are better than that. I know you as a person, you are much, much better than that. To alleviate that shame by recognizing that it's just a mistake. It's just not who you are. If you had an abortion, it's just something that happened. If you had an affair, it's something that happened. If you had a divorce, it's something that happened. If you were in an abusive relationship or you were the abuser, it's something that happened. But it is not for you to stay stuck in. It is something for you to recognize that your greatness is much, much beyond that thing that you did. So for a moment, be disappointed in yourself that you didn't achieve the level that you know you should have because you didn't give as much effort and have as much focus, but recognize that mistake is not definitive of you. It doesn't define you for the rest of your life, that you are greater and will be greater and can be greater. And so what you do is that, you accept that it happened and move on. It's really that simple. Accept it, learn from it, move on, keep it moving. Now we're going to move to the next one, your heart chakra. Sweet elixir of life. So in your heart chakra, this is probably one of the most difficult things for people to overcome. And that is, sorry, that was a long break. But I don't know where I was. I don't know the very last thing I said, but I know we was talking about the heart chakra. And in the heart chakra, we have grief is what blocks it. And many people they have grief over the fact that they've lost loved ones. They've lost love in their life. Something went wrong. It could be in I can't think of the word, so let me not use it. It could be so many different things that has occurred in a person's life that causes them to have lost love. Whether it's a child, whether it's a divorce. I've seen people who lose their mother, who lose their father, and then that causes them to lose interest in their romantic life. And because they've lost that love, they can't feel additional love. It's like a mechanism that says that I'm feeling this grief for the loss of my mother and my father, and if I don't love you, my husband or my wife, as much, then when I lose you, I won't have to go through this pain of grief again. So we block off any additional love that can come into our lives. And because we do that, it doesn't allow us to fully feel love for anyone ever again. And I can attest to this in my own experience, because when I lost my grandmother, I was already married. I was married to my high school sweetheart. I was married to a woman that I had, devoted my entire love to. I had gotten over the fact that the first person I ever gave my emotions to had cheated on me. And so I had gotten over that, and I had let her in as a new love. But with the loss of my grandmother, I pulled back on my love because I didn't want to feel that again, because I had lost my grandmother, and 4 years prior I had lost my grandfather. So I didn't want to feel that pain, feel that loss. So I pulled back. I lived in grief for a very long time. And really, it wasn't until my daughter was born that I came to the realization, my first child, my oldest daughter, that when she was born 21, almost 22 years ago, that I came into that realization that I have been living in grief and pulling away from those who I do love, from my wife, from my mother, my brother, my sisters. I have been pulling away from them because I didn't want to feel that grief anymore. But I recognized that in order for me to be a good father, I had to allow myself to love my daughter. And I recognized that I was losing my wife because I wasn't giving her the love, because I had been pulling back in that respect as well. So we have to release old love and recognize that people will come in our lives. We will love them. But if they leave our life, we have to be able to let that love go with them. Even when it's a parent, grandparent who leaves this existence, I recognize that they just left this existence. That's it, just this existence. They did not leave me, okay? But when it's a divorce, then we have to let that loss of love go with them. We can't hold on to it. We can't think the next person is going to treat us the same way. We can't think that the next outcome is going to be the same way. It's the same way when you lose that job that you love. You love that job, but you can't think the next job is going to do you the same way, or the next company is going to do you the same way. These are just minor setbacks. They're not failures, but setbacks. So we have to stay in a point where we're allowing ourselves to feel love again and not hold on to old love and that old pain. Now we're going to talk about your throat chakra. Second cup of coffee, sweet elixir of life. In this chakra, and in this understanding that blocks us from becoming the greatest version of ourselves, so that we allow ourselves to be able to have that self-awareness, to be able to find that divine one that's supposed to be with us, then we have our throat chakra, which is the lies. The lies. But it's not the lies that others have told us. It is the self-lies. It is the lies that we believe, the lies that we accept. When people talk about us, matter of fact, I had an experience a couple of days ago. And I love being in my store sometimes because it's like I get to put people on the couch. And just in our conversation, the young lady expressed to me how her father always compared her to her brother, and how her father always had negative things to say about her, that she wouldn't amount to anything, that she wouldn't become much of anything. Because she wasn't as studious as her brother, she had less value than her brother did, and that she would end up being a street sweeper and things like that. And he would take her to show her these street sweepers and make sure that she understands this is what you will become. He would tell her that is her value, that you are worthless, basically. And that became her truth. That became her truth, and with that becoming her truth, that became the lie that she told herself. It took her many, many years. She wasn't a client of mine as far as coaching. She was a client of someone else, but we were just talking about her experience. But it took her many, many years. Actually, it took her decades to be able to forgive her father, to be able to forgive herself, to get to the point where she recognized that these were lies that she had internalized, and that she was now telling those lies to herself in order for her to be a great person that she is today. Until you stop and recognize, what are the lies that I have been telling myself? What have the lies that I've adopted from other people and I'm now telling myself? And recognize the difference. Other people can say things negative about you over and over and over and all day, but it's not until you accept them as your own truth that it becomes your personal lie. So you have to stop telling yourself the lies. And then the other lie that you're telling yourself is the false perception of reality. You recognize that in the next 7 years, there are industries that will go away because of technology. But if you're lying to yourself thinking your industry will always be the way it is, always be there, period, then you're telling yourself a lie that will keep you from being able to move forward and adjust to all things that happen in life, so that you can always find yourself, at the forefront of receiving all things that are great in life. You see, if you are telling yourself the lie that there are no good men. If you're telling yourself the lie that all women just want a man's money, if you're telling yourself those lies, then every woman you meet is a gold digger. Every man that you meet he's good for nothing. Then and so no matter if you meet the great woman or the great man, you've already told a lie to yourself that no one is going to be good for you, that no one can be someone that is your divine mate. And now you may consciously say, I want to find me a good man or a good woman, but that lie you've been telling yourself, it will overshadow that good thing that you're trying to convince yourself of, because you're believing more in the lie than you're believing in anything else. So you got to start telling yourself different truths. You have to find a new truth about yourself and about the environment that's around you. You got to recognize, that's why I do the I ams every morning for myself. I tell myself I am whatever. I am an amazing man. I am a loving man. I am a great father. I am a great businessman. I am a great coach. You know, even things that I haven't accomplished yet in life, I still say that I am that, you know, to prepare myself for when the opportunity is there, that I am amazing at it. So tell yourself truths and not the self-lies that keep you from being able to excel. And one of the last things about that, you have to be able to accept the truth of your nature. All right, accept the truth of your nature, of who you are. You know, 75% of who you are is environmental, but 25% is your genetics. It's just who you are. Every time I had a new personal training client, I used to tell them 25% is your genetics. If your genetic makeup says that you have to work harder than the next person, then you do. If your genetic makeup says that it will be difficult for you to build muscle, then that's just what it is. If your genetic makeup says that it'll be easy for you to build muscle, then that's just what that is. If your genetic makeup says that you can have a nice firm butt or you're gonna have a flat butt, that's just what it's going to be. Sorry. Can't do anything about genetics unless you go get some surgery. Now, as far as personality and genetic, you can't. It's kind of difficult. You're always going to come back to that. But the beauty of it is that you have to figure out what is the enhancement of your personality. All right. So if you are a very artistic person, you're into nature and you're trying to be forced into corporate environments, find an opportunity for you to be creative, to be in nature, to do the things that comes natural to you. That's a strength of yours. This is why when I work with new clients, I take them through a strength test so that I can see what is your true nature of who you are. You know, what is your true personality, the thing that you just can't run from. And then let's not try to get rid of it, but to make it excel for you and be a strength for you. All right, so we get past those lies and recognize our true selves and work from a point of building on our true selves. The next one, which is commonly called your third eye chakra, right there. That one is blocked by the illusions that we are disconnected from the world and disconnected from everybody else. This is the thing that creates wars. This is the thing that creates murder and fight and struggle. I actually saw someone who commits robbery and said that those people don't deserve what they have, what they've worked for, what they have accomplished, and so it was their right to take it from them. So they're telling themselves an illusion. You know, we also tell ourselves an illusion that we're alone, that no one else is going through what we go through. No one else has to struggle the way we struggle or deal with what we've dealt with. No one else has experienced the pain of loss that I've experienced. No one else has had to regather themselves up. No one else has the overbearing parent. No one else has had the abusive husband or wife. No one else has had the crazy as a wombat children. No one else has had these things, and we create these illusions of disconnection that we're not connected to everybody else. But we also create the illusion that we can't attain that great thing that we've seen. The other day I had a couple coming here. They've been married for 49 years, and if you saw if you saw my Instagram, you saw me say that they did so because they wanted to. They wanted it to work out. They wanted it to be loving. They wanted it to be fun. But that was what they wanted. They didn't have any illusions about them being able to attain it. But so many people have the illusion that they cannot obtain greatness when they see it. They can't obtain great finances, so they continue to stay in the illusion of just trying to get by and going paycheck to paycheck. They can't believe that they can have the illusion. They believe that it's an illusion to have that loving, caring relationship, and so they keep doing things, whether consciously or subconsciously, to destroy the relationship, to push the other person away, to ensure that happiness and tranquility does not live within that relationship. So they destroy their relationship by living in the illusion instead of living in the reality. And we have to recognize that all things are one, and all things have happened, and all things are possible to happen. That, as the Book of Wisdom says, that my people will die from their lack of vision. When you walk around without vision and not believing in a greater vision, then of course nothing for you is possible, and you will find yourself living in a destructive world, a world where you are alone, where you live in the void. And then that will just reconfirm the lie that you're telling yourself. So you see how these things are connected. And the last chakra, sweet elixir of life, is your crown chakra. This is blocked by holding on to earthly attachments, by holding on to this reality, by thinking that the way that you were born and the life that you live is the only reality. Thankfully, I've traveled to many different countries on this planet. I've seen many different people in many different situations. I recognize that as destitute as the lowest American, there are people in other countries who would call them rich. As abusive as the most abusive relationship I've ever seen, there are those who live in abject slavery and are abused, even to this day. Slavery, sexual slavery, child slavery. So we have this earthly attachment that our reality is the only reality. Our religion is the only religion. Our form of government is the only form of government. Our form of commerce is the only form of commerce. We hold on to money, and we hold on to people, and we hold on to things as if they will carry us for an eternity, not recognizing that this is just temporary. All of this is temporary. Whether I ever achieve, I will never achieve all my goals. I can honestly say that. I will never achieve all my goals. And the reason why I will never achieve all my goals is that as I achieve one goal, I will begin to grow and reach out for the next goal. I will always have another goal. So I would never achieve all my goals, but in the achievement of each goal, I recognize it is just a temporary thing to do while I'm here. That by achieving goals, it's really allowing me to become a better person while I'm here, to prepare me for my next existence, where there will be additional goals for me to achieve that are at that level. All right, so there will always be a process of growth, a process of lead to gold, lead to gold, lead to gold. So I will always be growing and becoming a better version of myself, but I have to let go of certain things. I have to be willing to say that if I lose my house, it's just a house. If I lose my car, it's just a car. If I lose a loved one, I will never lose them because they're always in my heart. But if I lose them in the physical form, then I will see them again. So I haven't lost them. They were here, but they're gone, and I will continue to live on. Like, the world didn't end when my grandmother passed away. The world didn't stop moving. It kept spinning. The sun didn't stop going up and down. The moon didn't stop its cycle. The airplanes kept flying. So the world moved on. So I have to recognize that all these are just earthly attachments, that this sweet elixir of life, if I never have coffee again, I'm not going to die. It's not going to end anything in my life. It's not going to stop me from being able to continue to elevate my consciousness. So we have to be willing to let go of all these earthly attachments. That's actually part of the story in that Book of Wisdom about the rich young ruler. He couldn't let go of his earthly attachments, yet he done everything else. You can open up all the other 6 chakras, but in order to actually find greatness, to become one with the Creator, to become the greatest version of yourself, you have to be able and willing to let go of all earthly attachments. You have to be willing to just say, I would love to be here, I would love to have this, I would love to do that, but if I can't, that the greatness of my consciousness developing is more important than holding on to all these things. That if I lose people, that my elevation of my consciousness is the greater thing. And so I can let those things go and release my earthly attachments. Now, I'm going to end this video right here. Of course, now once you've achieved all these statuses, once you achieve this status, you then will work from the top down in recognizing the kind of people that you should be around, the kind of people that should line up with you, the kind of people that will come into your life and can come into your life and just make your life, greater, make it heaven on earth. As the Gospel of Thomas said, the kingdom of God is all around you. Split a piece of wood, turn over a rock, but that the kingdom is inside of you and all around you. So when that kingdom is dwelling within you, then you attract the additional kingdom that's all around you. It becomes manifested in front of you. And working from the top down, when you're dealing with other people and situations, you'll be able to find that you'll be able to see that what things are good for you and what things are not good for you, how people match up with you greatly and how people, not so much. Like they may have a couple of things here and there, they may have this or that, but like for instance, when you're looking at a mate, somebody that's possible marriage material, and you start with their crown chakra, that crown chakra, for the person, the question is, does your life purpose line up? Does the big picture line up? Do both of your life purposes line up with one another? Can you walk this journey of life together? Because your big picture goals are the same. Every detail doesn't have to be in sync with one another, but the big picture has to be in sync with one another. Let me give you an example. Look at Dr. King and Coretta Scott King. Their big picture became the civil rights movement. She didn't necessarily have to go everywhere he went and do everything he did. She didn't necessarily have to be in the forefront like he was, but her being able to hold down the house and the children enabled him to be able to do what he was able to do because they had the big picture in mind. And her big picture was raising a healthy, wonderful family and supporting her husband to achieve this goal of the civil rights movement. His big picture was to achieve that goal of the civil rights movement, to provide a better future for his children, so his children didn't have to continue and grow up and live for their lifetime in Jim Crow statuses. So their big pictures, although not exactly the same, they lined up. So when your big pictures line up and where they meld together, they're not the same pieces of the puzzle, but they're two pieces of the puzzle that fit perfectly together. So you find someone whose big picture lines up with yours. If they don't, and you're starting at the very end, you just met them and that big picture don't line up, then they're already not good for you. That's not a friend for you to have. That's not a husband or wife for you to have. That's not a job or a company that you need to be working in. You have to make sure the big pictures line up. When someone comes in here and they want to be an employee, if their big picture is just to get a check and pass the time, then they're not a good employee for me, because my big picture is to have the best customer service and the best products that I can possibly provide for my customers. And if their big picture isn't to learn how to develop and have great customer service and learn a great work ethics while getting paid, and to be mentored into being, a person who makes other people happy, then you can't work for me. You see? So the big pictures have to line up no matter what the situation is. This is not just about a relationship. This is about all relationships and all realities, right? And even if you're living in a country where your big picture and the country's big picture don't line up, then switch countries, switch cities, switch states, switch whatever you need to switch so that the big picture can then line up. So now to go down the rest of it, you guys are going to have to wait for the book. I have a goal of having this book completely, the first rough draft written by the end of July 2017. The first rough draft. Once that first rough draft is written, then I'll set a date for the second rough to be written. But it'll be based on the first rough draft as to how and what the goal is for the second. You see, don't make goals, don't make plans that you can't fulfill. Some plans have to go in steps, and then you can take the next step and plan for the next step. But Hey, if you guys think that this is going to be a great book, if written well, it will be written well. But if you like the concept of this book, please let me know in the comments. And continue to, share these videos. Support us on Patreon. If you want personal coaching, just give me connect with me here or at my Mastering You, the number 10 at Gmail, or go to my Coach Ren's website and connect with me there. But y'all have a great day. Enjoy yourself. And remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because why? Your greatness is non-negotiable, and the sweet elixir of life, I make the best coffee. Y'all have a great day.